Hey everyone, Elaine Beck here, and we are It's Not About Us, our wonderful show, and we also are on CPAC now, and I'm sure that's where you're watching us, and it's so exciting. I'm telling you, today's really exciting. I'm interrupting my own self. How do you like that? It's so exciting to be with another one of the wonderful 20 people who stood for the people, all the people. And I'm trying to help you understand what that was like from their perspective and to help you understand why they did it. And because it's all good news. You know, that's what we're about on our show, Michael. This is Michael Cloud. He's from the great state of Texas.
Yeah.
And on our show, it's about helping the people see the good side of everything. And we all know you guys were abused and banged around and all that kind of stuff horribly during this. However, you didn't back down. We're so proud of you. All of us. We have many people out there just going, you know, where they were hitting you back and forth like a tennis ball. We were back there applauding, praying, jumping up and down. Isn't that wonderful?
It is. And I mean, I could tell you throughout this whole process, we could feel the prayers of the people and the encouragement of the people, and obviously keeping our eye on the ball of why we're here and what we came here for was extremely important. But that support just means the world, you know.
Yeah, of course it does. And how long have you been in Congress?
I've been in Congress almost 5 years.
Wow.
I had about 6 months of the majority last time I was elected in a special election, and so I had the opportunity to be in the majority for a few months and see the lame duck process, and then we headed in the minority. I can tell you this much, the majority's better, so happy to be back in the majority again.
Right.
You have to get used to voting yes on a couple bills now. So.
Yes, yeah.
So
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
so tell us a couple stories about what it was like behind the scenes when you were there fighting for what you believed in.
Yeah, well, you know, if you were watching the media, you would have thought that we woke up January 2nd, January 3rd, and just, you know, on the cantankerous side of bed and wanted to do something, you know. But really, this was something that was in the work for months. We started at least as early as July putting out very publicly and up front, especially in the circles up here, just trying in good faith to be honest about what we wanted to accomplish. And really, this was just about changing the status quo of Washington. And we have what's called conference up here, which is when all the Republicans get together. We, you know, talk amongst ourselves, kind of have those family discussions. And, you know, I'd get up here and say things like, you know, Congress is broken. That's not news to anybody up here. We all know that.
Or anywhere else.
Anywhere else. And from my perspective, that wasn't even pointing a finger in anybody's face, because most of us inherited this mess.
Right.
But if we were to get here and not do something about it, then it is upon us.
That's right. You own it then.
So, right. Then we own it. And so this was about doing what we could to change the status quo. And so as early as July of last year, June of last year, we began first in a couple letters, and then we actually published a 50-page booklet on, you know, what's broke about Washington. You know, here's where the rules are. Here's some proposals, and they were meant to be proposals. Like, we should fix these issues, you know. And early on in some of the conversations we would have again in conference among, you know, we'd talk about, hey, here's an idea to fix this, and you know, sometimes people would poke holes on it, and.
But at what point, not to interrupt you, at what point did the ideas that were being talked about, because, you know, God in heaven knows that we do talk a lot down here.
We do.
And we do propose the things that need fixed.
Right.
And we propose the way that we might want to fix it. However, at what point did you all come together and go, well, we have to do it, and this is how we're going to do it?
Right. Honestly, it was a process for a while.
Really?
And so for the first few weeks, there's kind of, you know, anytime you make change, people are like, well, what about this? What about that?
Of
and,
course.
you know, we'd put forth proposals, and there was a lot of shooting them down initially. Well, what's wrong with that? And some of that was really constructive, and some of it was maybe out of habit, you know, of, well, we don't know about the unknown. And so we just make the argument of, like, these are proposals. They're not take it or leave it. If you have a better idea, we're all for it. But the core issue we're trying to address is still a core issue that needs to be addressed.
Right.
And you know, again, looking around at what we're doing, like what we're doing not now is what we're doing now isn't working either. So,
Right.
At least we can try something new. If that doesn't work, we can change it again, and continue to work toward a more constructive, less performative Congress and a more productive Congress.
Exactly. And one of the things that I've been sharing with the people as I speak to each of you, and that's what's exciting about this, is we're trying to get all 20 of you to share your story and how you felt about it. And one of the things I've told them is we have to think of this. This was not a one-time deal.
Right.
This was such an amazing event in history that if we don't take this and run with it, and now in all the different organizations underneath the whole even, stop and go, where do we change things here?
Right.
And set a new standard to make things better. And like you said, though, I like what you say when you say, well, if something doesn't work, then the next time you have to revisit it, you rethink it, and then you talk it through. And I just think that's so amazing. A lot of people have not thought of this in the way that I have, that you've set a precedence that is so beautiful for all the other organizations, starting clear down at the school boards. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
What do we need to do within our system to change our rules about how much parents can be more involved?
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So I love it. I mean, to me, this was an opportunity for all of us. And I feel so blessed to be the one that is sitting down with each of you to hear your story.
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing. And I really seriously know that everybody out there, if they could, they'd thank you, they'd hug you, they'd high five you, what's that, fist bump? Really. And that's what's beautiful. And you guys need to hear this. And you need to know that, it's not over in our hearts and minds. It never will be. You've become our heroes.
Well, that sounds like high praise, and I'm not sure of it. Yeah, I mean, yes, it was kind of tough for a week there, but for me, and I know a lot of people who serve up here.
Right.
You remember our men and women in uniform who are getting real bullets at them and
Right.
those kind of things. And throughout history, we have story after story after story of that kind of thing that really is the ethic of who we're supposed to be as American citizens, that kind of revolutionary spirit. But then I know a lot of us are just driven by faith too, and what
Absolutely.
needs to take a stand. And so that was really a key part of that. I can tell you all these meetings that we would have on strategy and rules. It was they would all begin and end with prayer.
Right.
And
I know. I heard about that. That's
it
wonderful.
was very much an effort of help us do the right thing. We're
right.
trying to make a difference.
Lead us.
And approaching this thing humbly and just trying to make the country better. And I like what you said about this like it's kind of odd that this was momentous in a sense, and like, oh, we're having a rules change discussion. It's like, this should be normal. And the idea that, to that point, like initially we had tried to get this done before January 3rd, and we were trying to,
I know you were behind the scenes trying to go to people.
And trying to, and that was the desire and wish. But looking back now, I think it's just been healthy how it's played out, because it's like when you have a witness to an agreement or a contract, and the American people witnessed the process, they witnessed the agreement, and like you said, it's a reminder, like, this is actually how a republic is supposed to work. It's supposed to be a deliberative body, and
it's even supposed to be, a place where you can stand and argue your point, not in a nasty way.
Right.
And I want to tell you, your humbleness is wonderful. And there's different kinds of heroes. Believe me, my grandson is in the Navy. I'll be the first one. My husband was in the Air Force. I'll be the first one to tell you that it's the heroes that get out there and give their life or risk their life, either way, that we look to the most. But there's different kinds of heroes. You're political heroes in the fact that you were not afraid to stand up against people that were seeing things in a different view and speak out and stand strong together and say, we're not going to give in. These are the things that we need to do to make everybody's lives better in this country. And until we get that, we're not going to go along just to go along, which is what so many things have happened over the last 50 years.
Right.
Everybody's just been riding the waves. Everything's just moving along.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter how difficult things got. Look how bad the evil is in this country right
exactly.
now. Okay?
Yes, exactly.
So that's where my hero attitude comes from. Because you stood for God and country. And you asked God in. And let me tell you, it was his decision when you got caught up in an end game that ended up giving you more than you'd even planned, because you kept praying to him and saying, God, lead us. God, help us to make these decisions. And guess what? He was there. Right?
I totally believe it. And I do think it's important to point out, too, because the 20 get a lot of attention, but there were people on both sides of that vote, too, who were working to get where we needed to go.
Exactly.
And there was one specific day I just remember as we were voting and being back there and making the stands and making the case and having all the discussions that needed to happen. I just remember if we could have cooler heads prevail for a day, I think we have a good chance of getting where we need to go on this. And so there were a lot of people working it together. But, I mean, these things do take a stand, and it's important for Americans to realize it. And the thing looking back is, it's so worth it. We didn't know.
Oh, absolutely.
We hoped it would be going into it, and sometimes you don't always see the end game, and you just have to do what you think is the next right step.
Right.
And I say that in terms of we can't just have that in Congress. We have to have that in every single step, because you talk about how evil is just working through every single institution.
Absolutely.
Even in our communities to get working. And so we do need people throughout the country to be constructive in the process, but yes, to take a stand. And I have great hope for us as a future, but it's going to take realizing where we are. And that was part of this, the urgency of the moment, just realizing where we are as a nation is so
Absolutely.
critical, and a couple of things I would say when we'd get up in conference again leading up to this is, we'd see the left, and when they're in charge, we race toward the fiscal cliff, for example, and then we were in charge, we'd jog toward the same cliff and all that progress. I'm like,
Amen.
I'm really not interested in coming here and being part of a managed decline of the United States.
No.
We at a minimum have to begin to turn the corner, and it's going to take some time to fix a lot of the stuff that's happened over decades, but we have to at least begin to turn the ship. And I feel like we have, this isn't the end-all be-all, but it gives us the best chance I think we've had it as members in a while in actually coming here and representing the people, being a part of the process. Again, so much of the job had become really performative.
Right.
And I would talk about the illusion of a representative government in a sense. So you almost feel like we're here just to let Americans think that they have representation. That's a little bit of an overstatement, but
some people could say that they see it that way where they live.
Right, and that's where the American people, I think, they feel like they don't have that kind of representation.
That's right.
So this gives us the best chance we've had in a while, and having those honest discussions, really putting us right back on the path. And it was about the rules, but we always called it Rules Plus. It was about the rules and then the policy initiatives we need to embrace, fiscal discipline, securing our border and having a plan and a commitment to do that, and really restoring power to the American people.
Absolutely. And I love everything you're saying, and I really can go where you're going, but I will say this. I agree. I'm not saying that you 20 are the only ones that matter now. No. We need to help support all of our members in the House. Yeah. Absolutely. And we need to understand that it takes it's like in a marriage. Come on. It takes two parties. Yeah. But somebody has to be in control. And somebody has to stand up for what they believe in. And when you do that, you're going to come out a winner, not a loser, whether you're on one side or the other. And so it's really important to understand that, God made us so that we're all different and we see things different. But yet, open-mindedness, which is, and common sense, which seem to be the things that are the furthest from us these days, were seen during that week. And I really feel that, if the other side hadn't pushed back, then you wouldn't push forward and nothing again would be done.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what it's about, whether it's in a marriage or any kind of relationship or any kind of effort where it's supposed to be a team working together. Work it out. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say, they should have done it in private and not shown it to the public. I don't know. Yeah. I felt good in watching this because I think it left all of us with a sense of being part of it.
Right. Because
we knew where we stood, whether it was with the 20 or with the other 100 and 48. Mm-hmm. We felt that. And I think that more of the government needs to be, they always say, and we want it to be open and transparent. Okay. Yeah. How much more transparent can you get? Yet, so proud of you all. And that you took the time to strategize, think ahead, be prepared, know what you were going to ask. That's important. That stuff that was done behind the scenes ahead of time was just as vital as the event,
so.
Right?
Very much so.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it was months in preparation. And some of the common talking points up front, like, you're going to give the gavel to the Democrats or whatever. We had already gamed out that and knew where we were and how to deal with it. We'd met with the parliamentarian, done a lot of legwork, heading into this. Like I said, we weren't just waking up that morning on the wrong side of bed.
Yeah,
it was very purposeful, intentional, and very prayerful, as I had mentioned. But ultimately, it's been neat to see because, like you said, this could have happened behind doors, so to speak, or have a little more of a inter-family conversation, but it's an extra accountability level now to see the American people engaged in the process, and then through it all too, even the relationships up here are in a healthier place going forward. I passed a member in the hallway today, and we were just talking about, like, it feels different up here. Instead of having all these people in the pockets and corners, it's like, okay, we're going to work and we've got to figure this out, and we're going to have discussions, but we're in a much better place to have those conversations to be constructive and going forward. And I'm really optimistic. And again, this isn't mission accomplished yet, but we have a very good chance to do some really significant work now.
Yeah. Well, not to disagree with you, but there was one of the missions accomplished.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what it takes when you go to battle in anything. There's a whole lot of little wars going on everywhere. Exactly. And so I think it's very important. We're going to have to close our time now. This has been a wonderful conversation. I love your heart. I love your heart for God first and for your country. I love that you took the time to get together and make things happen. And then you stood together proudly and didn't allow the media or the outside thinkers or the people on the other side to throw you a curveball and then you shrink down. No, you stood. I'm proud of you. The country is proud of you. Yeah. So everyone, we're going to go now. Thank you for being here, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you. And we will be back with our next CPAC show very shortly. Take care. I love you. Keep praying.